Are your Agents.MD or context files useless when you do code generation? While doing a series about Agents.MD and how to construct efficient ones, I came across this research and a whole range of videos that talk about the efficiency of Agents.MD. And I want to deep dive into this research a little bit and analyze and really understand what did they research and what are their conclusions. And then we're going to make some additional ideas and useful tips based on that. So let's dive right in. So this paper came out, which is evaluating Agents.MD. Are repository level context files helpful for coding agents? So as we dug deep into the research paper, the first thing is the conclusion that LLM-generated context files or Agent.MD files reduce the performance by 2% or something of that sort, and human-generated improved by 4%. That already has no statistical significance, so that conclusion means almost nothing. And then as we dive deeper, we see that they used SweBench and AgentBench. The agents are trained on these workbenches, and it's well known that agents can pass benches but still fail in real world. Now, while AgentBench is a little more esoteric, it's still a small significance. It's 12 repos. The other things is that LLM generated the unit tests, which means that it might have bias. Another thing is that these are pass-fail statements, whereas if you actually look at things, what we care about code and production level code is not just does it work or doesn't it? Is it secure? Does it comply with the project? Is it the right architecture? Is it designing things? The other thing, the scope of solving esoteric tasks is not the same as creating a whole app with infrastructure. Those are completely different problems. In addition, there's no separation. They just bucketed all human-generated Agents.MD together, whether it's 24 characters, which is literally empty, to 2,000 characters. There's no statistical significance. Each test was run once. What you actually want to do is run multiple times to remove bias and variance. So this research has a lot of problems. I would say that it's not really statistically significant, and a lot of videos piggyback on that to create this hype of how Agents.MD and actually get more views. The reality of our world is that no one knows exactly. We're all figuring out how these LLMs work. They're generating tremendous amounts of code. And there's a lot of different tips, and I've actually built my own framework to test Agents.MD, and I've spent a lot of time evaluating different lengths and different types of agents. And I can say with clarity that there are very specific points that help Agents.MD. In my last video, I showed you how to create an Agents.MD. And in this video, while we discussed the research paper, what I want to show you is some practical applications, and I want to show you how we can actually make, because there is something to that big context files and a lot of info in the context file doesn't help. It confuses the LLM. So there's ways to trim that out that have been very helpful for me and actually get the benefit that you want. And I want to talk today about layering and extracting to minimize context files and keep them very concise. So I'll show you how I do that on a repo that we did last time, and we'll do some work to show you how we can make the Agents.MD even better for the coding agent. So let's get into that now. So while we found that the research might not be the best or the most accurate, it does point to a very important point. What goes into your Agents.MD and your context file matters a lot. It does. Context is very precious, and we need to be very, very careful and very diligent and thoughtful about it. So the way I tackle that is I like to do something called layering nesting, where I don't put all the information into one huge file. I break them down into multiple files based on roles or concepts or domain knowledge. This allows the LLM not to get distracted when it's working on one particular task or when it's working on another. So for example, one thing that I like to do, and I'll show you, I've added to our test project, I've added some infrastructure code. I've added some Terraform, which if you don't know what it is, it's infrastructure as code to be able to reproduce infrastructure automatically. and some Helm deployments that are basically how you deploy on top of a Kubernetes cluster. So we have a way to create a cluster and deploy our app into the cluster. Now, that doesn't belong in the main CLAUDE.md because that's only useful when we're debugging, we're going to do another deployment, we want to understand why code fails there. So then those become very useful. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to layer it. I'm going to first create an infra.md that describes our infrastructure and what's the overview of our infrastructure. Then I'm going to create a nested. Inside the infra, we're going to create a CLAUDE.md or an Agent.MD that deals with the infrastructure operation. And last, we're going to link that to the main one. Whenever it needs to do operations of that sort, please go and reference those files. So we'll see how that works, and it's going to keep our context down and a lot more precise and thoughtful. So let's kind of go into that. We're going to use the LLM to generate those, but that's not too bad. Here, we're going to do that, and I'm going to ask it, because I've ran this before. All right, let it run and let it analyze the infrastructure folder. And that's going to create an infra project for us, or an infra overview. And that overview serves not only the LLM, it also allows humans and people onboarding onto the project to quickly ask an LLM what's going on. And the LLM doesn't need to go off and explore. The second thing is, as we tweak these files and we make sure that it does the right thing, because you want the human in the loop, that's still needed. So we can kind of figure out what's going on. And I ran this before, so it generated that. But it's going to create a comprehensive overview of what that infra looks like. And that one will help us. So it's showing us the Terraform, the structure. It talks about required variables, Helm chart, resource limit, deploy commands, Helm. All right, so let's not accept that. Now, this is a very small project, but when projects become very big, it's very useful to separate them. And again, how you separate and how you start to chop things up, this is just one suggestion. Don't forget, no one knows what works. But here it kind of shows you a little bit more like of what's going on and explains a little bit. So we're going to keep this infra, again, more concise. And it shows you the architecture of what's going on and gives you kind of the essence of the architecture. So that one works really well. Now, Now, it would actually go and explore the context. It's just Kubernetes commands. But now I want to create a CLAUDE.md. It's going to look at the root folder that we already created, and it's going to clone the same thing inside the folder, which is a bit like our DevOps CLAUDE.md if you want. So you can view logs. It will show you how to view the logs, how to use the config, tell it what to switch, how to look at clusters, and then how to do log reading. And this one keeps the same boundaries as before. It reiterates stuff, and it gives those particular commands. And as you run through stuff, you might want to tweak things further or control what or how it gets done. So we're going to add that. And then Once again, also let's we're going to ask it to look into the infra of MD whenever it needs to understand how the infra is set up. Might be a little bit of an overkill, but not the end of the world to reference all the documents back. Oh, sorry, I had a typo. But now I can ask it, whenever you're going to run anything infra, just run those commands. And then that one updates the main folder, and that points into those. So now we've literally just created a layer of stuff. We've taken all that context out. It doesn't have to sit in the main file. It sits in those nested. 2, if you're in the infra folder and you're going to run Claude from in there, you automatically get that one instead of the main agent. And that enables us to control context. That's just one of the many ways we can create sub-agents and other things. I say use all of them. See what works best for you. Drop me any comments. I'd appreciate the like and the subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.